Our Dream Team 718, welcome back, welcome back. We are doing part two of our reflection on our journey overcoming our bouts of depression, or how we overcame whatever setbacks that we had. So I know the last time myself and Gary went, so we can kick it off with Benjamin.
Yeah, man. So first of all, I just want to preface and say that I was never clinically diagnosed.
Mm,
So I don't want to, you know, it's just this is just based on my experience, and I'm no way, shape, or form trivializing other people who are going through, you know, who are clinically diagnosed and going through something. But so I think it's funny because the last time we spoke about this, you guys mentioned like really two things that stood out to me. First was when I think when you start comparing yourself to other people, that's when it kind of starts. It's like, oh man, you're looking at, I'm supposed to be where this person is at, and I'm not. I think that's like the first steps. That's when it starts. The pressure starts building up, and you kind of get in your head a little bit. Um, so for me, it was something similar, right? It's with
mm,
with my photography with White Space Collective, and in the beginning, when I was motivated to shoot, you know, doing content and all that, and it started when I started comparing myself to like people who now have publications, who have like exhibits, who have installations, and I'm like, man, what am I doing wrong that I'm not in that position?
yeah, yeah.
So that's when it kind of kicked in. Like I kind of felt discouraged a little bit. And for a while, I kind of stopped making content or stopped shooting, right? But then the second thing that you guys mentioned earlier that kind of snapped me out of it was realizing that you just got to take one step at a time, right? Just like Gary mentioned, it's you got to count your wins, and those count for something. Maybe you're not where you want to be, but counting those small wins, you get to that point, and you just start talking yourself through it. It's all about, and you mentioned it too, G. It's ideation is important, but execution, that's what's gonna really propel you to the next level. So tying everything back, I started feeling a little down when I got into my head and I started comparing myself with the progress of other people. And you got to realize you got to run your own race.
Yeah.
God puts you. This is where you need to be. You're in a perfect place wherever you are, as long as you wake up every day and focus on that progress. Every day, okay, cool, what am I going to accomplish today based, related to my goal.
Yeah, no matter how
um
slow it may be.
right. Everybody's running their own race, and you kind of, for me, I fell into that trap of comparing myself, and that was, that could spiral out of control real quick, because that could even, you might just abandon all your aspirations because of that, you know so and I got out of it by, again, reminding myself, run your own race, and make sure that every step you're trying to fulfill 100% of your capabilities, and wherever you are, that's where you're supposed to be. And every day you just focus on the win. Okay, cool, what can I do today that'll help me with this goal?
Mm,
And that kind of, once that momentum kind of goes, that kind of snaps me, it snapped me back into, all right, what's the next step? So that kind of got me out of the funk. So that's my, my take on it.
I'm glad you said that, because it's a reminder that we're not perfect, right? And like you said, everybody has their own race to run. We all have our goals that we want to accomplish. And it's weird because, I found myself at one point doing the same thing as well, comparing myself to other bloggers and other life coaches and whatnot. And it's like, you know, like Mel Robbins. I'm like, yo, she quit her job. She was a successful lawyer, and here it is. She's she's one of the top life coaches out there. But you know what? I don't know what sacrifices she made. I don't know what she gave up, what she how long it actually took her. To me, it seems like it was just like, you know, she finished one chapter, you turn the page, a new chapter started. Oh, hey, she's a life coach.
Celebrity.
But logically, it doesn't work like that. But unfortunately, emotions aren't logical. And once we get caught up in the comparison and wondering why me, sometimes and from experience, like I said, I've done it. I realized it took me to some dark places, and it really threw some stumbling blocks in my way where it made it harder for me to bounce back. So that reminder is definitely appreciated, that we all run our own race. My race is not going to be yours. I have my own thing. I'm going to go at my own pace, as long as I keep going. It reminds me of that I think it's a Japanese proverb. You fall 7 times, get up 8. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on it, but I've heard it somewhere. As long as you get back up and you keep going. So I appreciate that, Ben. It's just focus on what I have to do and get that done. So definitely, thanks. Mike,
Yes, sir.
at least, what's going on, man? How was your journey through 2020?
And 2020 was rough. It was rough because I made it rough. See that 2020. See, so I was I guess you might say fortunate enough to some degree to not have loss very close to me. So that wasn't a factor. But for me, it's funny, I'm pulling out of it sort of now, but it's just like the depression for me will look like, it wasn't like visible at times, but that's because I do a good job wearing a mask, right? And you got to get out of that. But for me, it was just like, well, I remember I used to go to work, then come home, and I used to rest. I wake up, work. I go outside now, like it's cold, like things are closed. So it's just like, yeah, this doesn't work like it used to. I actually want to go back to work now. So when it's opening up, so that has been yeah, so that's been the challenge for me. But I mean the real like bout with depression I fought in my life, after a bad breakup. Man, I found myself, I would come home and I'm not even sure I would change my clothes. I would just come home and I'd hop on my PS4, and before I know it, it's 2 a.m. in the morning. I got to go to sleep and wake up for work. And I did that a bunch of times. And I didn't realize it was my way of coping. Like, if I was into this game, this storyline with these characters, I didn't have to worry about what was going on with me internally. So it was a way of like breezing through what I was going through. But then 2 a.m. comes around and I'm like, I'm sad now because I haven't done anything since I've been home. I haven't done anything with my time. So now I have to, once the game turns off, the screen goes black, those characters are done, right? So now there's just one character, which is me. So now I haven't leveled up at all. But now I have to deal with that, the fact that I haven't been level grinding, right? And so that was the hard thing for me. And it's funny because at the time I was taking my math course. This was the fourth time I had taken the math course, and I was at Lehman, and I had to get rid of my PS4 because I gave it to Ron. I gave it to Ron because I said to myself, I can either keep this PS4 and keep going, because the first test I had for that class, I got an 80 something. The second one, I had like a 50 something. Like, it was terrible. So I can either keep this PS4 and fail, or I can give this away and I can try to pass this class. And so I gave it to Ron, and I ended up passing the class and got my bachelor's. That was the last class I needed for my bachelor's.
Super W.
Yo.
Yeah, I remember that was around Christmas 2018, man.
Wow. Yeah.
W.
Yeah. And it's so funny because I remember I just called you out of the blue.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and we were just talking, and you were like, yeah, I gotta get rid of this PS4. I was like, oh, hold up. Wait, hold up. I was like, hold on. I kind of need one.
So,
how can we work this out? You know? And I remember because as soon as he told me, I was like, yo, hold on. Yo, I ran across the room. I went to Samantha. I was like, yo, listen, yo, Mike said he has to get rid of his PS4. He's like, you okay with me getting one, right? I just want to make sure, like, you good with that? And she's like, I don't care. Like, do you? And the hard thing is, like, do you want one? I'm like, yeah. Like, mine is not working. And I remember, like, I met you at Bryant Park.
Yeah.
I met him at Bryant Park. That's when he was strong on his beard game too. Like, dude was on the train with his beard brush, just
the beard brush.
Yes. Getting back to it.
And I remember another time during 2020, I called you, and I didn't even know that you were battling with these emotions, man. I was just like, how is it that we're meeting, and I didn't know this. And it's interesting that you mentioned that, you were good at always wearing, putting on that mask, and like, we need to not do that.
Yep.
Like, it's okay that it's not okay,
The only time I didn't do that was, I remember when I would come to church, and I would see Gary. Yo, I would drag myself. The easiest thing to do when you're depressed is sleep.
Yep. Yeah.
For whatever reason, it may just be your body's like natural coping mechanism. Like, I can't stand to be awake because I have to deal with actually these feelings.
Right.
So I guess your body just kind of shuts down.
Yeah.
Man, I would drag myself into church, and I would just come in like, Gary be like, yo, you here, man? I'm like,
yo, isn't that annoying? The most annoying thing about Gary, bro?
No.
Oh my, it will be 5 o'clock in the morning, and you call me like, yep, what's up? I'm like, oh, man, yo, dude.
Yo, you know what did it for me? And it's weird because, like, this isn't like a fixed solve for everybody, right? Because one thing that, let me not say that. I'm not going to say that. I'll share that with y'all off. But one thing that helped me was my pastor at the time. He said to me, have you had good times in the past? And I was like, yeah, they've been there. It was like, it's not always going to be this bad. I remember Gary saying that earlier today, and it's just like, not always gonna be this bad. All right. And it took me an immense amount of time. I would say now in 2020 to heal, because part of me was dodging community, right?
Mm.
Like dodging counseling sessions, stuff like that. It took me till now to heal completely and to realize what people were telling me when the breakup happened. You weren't the only one in the relationship. Like all that time to realize, like, yes, like maybe it was more on my plate, but she had done some stuff too. Like I had to reconcile with that and realize I was still walking in some things that was spoken over me by her, and I was like, oh shoot, like this is in part why I struggle in this way or that way now. And once I was able to reject and recognize that, I think I was able to kind of, further facilitate the healing process, and God putting those pieces back together, man.
So, quick question though.
Mm-hmm.
How did, like, once you sought help, how did that, like, what did that mean? What did that do for you? When you realized that, you know what, I need to seek help, you sought it and you started to get that help. Like, what did that do? Like, how did that help you? Like, I know you weren't hearing much different than what you heard before. Yeah. You weren't hearing much different, but how did it help you?
I think for me it was I tried to relegate where my help came from, as opposed to like being in community, right, with my brothers, in Christ, and also like attending, like counseling and stuff like that, which was recommended to me. Gary was definitely one of the advocates for that, and just also like just really allow myself to be held accountable. Um, and I think once I dropped the barriers and said, you know what, I don't want to fall any farther than I am now, but I also recognize that there's grace for me where I am in this space, and I can grow from here. And once I realized that I don't have to fall further than I am, and I can seek out the help where I am, like I feel like there's no area in my life that is like off limits. Like, not that I don't have boundaries and stuff like that, but I feel like the things that have to be addressed and be attacked, they are being addressed, they are being attacked. And God will, I will see the healing. Like I believe it, whereas I didn't before.
So how did it feel to realize and know that you weren't alone, you weren't going through this by yourself?
It felt, I would say, amazing, because part of the deception, right, when you're in your own head, it's just like, it's me. Like, this is me. I'm in this by myself. I messed this thing up. How could I do this? How could I do that? And people talk about forgiving yourself. And it's something that I wrestle with, that forgiveness of oneself. But what I realized was I could wrestle with that, but I don't have to wrestle with the fact that there's grace for me where I am. Like, I have to walk in condemnation and like, I don't have to walk around with this cloud over my head. Like, there is a sense of saying, like, Dad, I did do that. That was me. What do I do now? And getting in that space. And that's the big thing. Like, you had references earlier. I know it's in, I think it's in Proverbs. 7 times the righteous fall, 7 times they get up. And it's just like, get up. Like, what do you do now? Like, you can't do anything about what's happened, but you can act. And I think that's the thing I was messing up, because I said to myself, well, I'm here in this pit, but you got legs, use them, get up. And if you need a helping hand, somebody is there. And I think that's what I was missing.
Yes. Okay, that's great, man.
That's epic. That's epic.
I think this is a perfect place to end it, man. This was awesome. I'm glad you guys are transparent and willing to share. Thank you for coming on.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
Yes, man. This is amazing, man. Thank you, fellas.